Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to episode 54. 50. Did you ever imagine that when you started listening to episode 1 so attentively, maybe you listened to it, then you watched the video just to see if there's the different experience to figure out what's best for you, and then 53 weeks later, here we are, 54, episode 54. This might be a controversial episode because there's a lot of reasons. First off, I'm changing up the set a little bit. I just want it to be more open, I like the stuff on the sides. Maybe we'll figure out a way to attach. Can you attach shelves to a shower curtain? Is there a YouTube video on that? If there's not one out there and you know how to do one, then let me know, because I would love to have some shelves on this shower curtain to put some decorations, But I got everything it's all different. You got to grow. If you're not growing, then you're dying. No, you're shrinking. A couple other controversial. If you're not growing, you need to eat more vegetables. I don't know. Do vegetables really help? I don't know who to trust. Vegetables probably do help. They probably do. I'm going to stop. I ate some really good food yesterday. I was like, I'm going to talk about that on the podcast, but I forgot. But I'll get back to it. I just drank some water. Water, for me, is good. Everything, listen, the company of Google is not responsible for any of the things expressed in this podcast. Or Apple, or unless they're good things, then, I don't know. But yeah, if you're not growing, you're not growing. So that's one controversy. I didn't ask anybody. I just did it. You can still see the shower curtain a little bit. I just feel like closer is fun. But also I put the mic back in. I don't know if I could tell, and I don't know if you could tell. I can still move it and be close. I still feel free. So that's the second controversial thing about the podcast is last week we just used the iPhone microphone. So if you're interested in knowing the difference between the iPhone microphone and the Yeti, what's that called? The Yeti GX. It's mostly for video games. Did you know that? Did I talk about this? So I went to Best Buy because where are you going to get a better deal? And I was in Chicago, and my parents was the fires. This was like way back when there were fires. You know how excited humans were when we invented fire? And then now we're like, People always say when there's like a new technology, like we were so concerned about doing it that we never thought about if we should do it. That's not the quote. It's something about like we were so focused. It's the Oppenheimer. I haven't seen Oppenheimer, but it's the whole thing of like you worried about whether you could. You tried to see if you could without even thinking if you should. That's what they say about new technology. I remember being in Chicago. There's something on my screen. In Chicago in the 2000s and walking down the street and thinking about something and being like, that's just like that. And it'd be nice for the podcast if I remembered what it was. But I don't. And in my prep work today, I didn't remember, but I just remember relating to that. So when you talk on a podcast for, once a week, 54 episodes, I'm not going to wait till I remember. We're just shooting it out there. Maybe chime in with some examples in the comments of things that we were so worried about whether we could, that we didn't know whether we should. I think work, in a very general way, having kids. No, you should. I don't know if you should. I don't know if you should. I like being a dad. This is welcome to episode 54 of I Just Got My Kid to Sleep. This is another. So what are things that you should? I'm not just going to leave this topic because that people might be listening right now, having never heard the podcast, and they're like, wow, I really like that idea. Why did he leave it so fast? That's the great part about a podcast. I feel like in a stand-up comedy show, people are there and they're listening. And if they want to leave, let's not bring up leaving. But podcasts a little looser expectations. Anyway, they were so worried about whether they should. I got to get the quote right before whether they should. No one worried whether they should, whether they could. Jurassic Park, that it applies to that. They thought about whether they could do it, make dinosaurs, but whether they should do it. Yes. What a movie franchise that is. Anyway, I don't think I need to talk about that anymore. I might come back to it later. And when I come back to it later, you'll know, oh, he doesn't know what else to talk about. So this is episode 54. This is the second episode. I just got my kid to sleep where he's at school. It was St. Patrick's Day yesterday. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I was going to wear Jack's outfit. Not his outfit, but he had like a head thing. Kids are so decked out for St. Patrick's Day these days. Like, where do they get the courage? You know, I guess when you're young, you don't care, but like he had like a sparkly green tie that he didn't tie himself, and it wasn't a clip-on. Anyways, his mom bought it for him. He had a crown that he put over his Sonic hat, so now he's lucky and fast. He had shamrock socks that he pulled up like they were baseball socks. Before he went to school, he pulled them all the way up. But then when I picked him up, his pants were over them. I don't know if that's like a thing because, you know, kids use the bathroom and he adjusted it then, or he felt self-conscious. But I hope it looked so cool when he had his shamrock socks pulled up to his knees. He was like a little leprechaun. And I say cool. I could have said cute, but I think it was cool. I just got water on myself. Cool is like, oh, I would wear that. If I had socks like that and I had courage, I would wear that. But cute is like, oh, he doesn't know that he looks stupid. That's what I feel like when people say cute. Kind of. A little bit, right? Like, oh, he doesn't know that people think it looks stupid. Like, that's so cute. But sometimes they just look cute, you know? You gotta get your kids to do cute stuff when they're not worried about looking stupid. That's when you get it in there. And because there's no teenagers out there that parents like, oh, they look so cute. And then the teenager's not like ripping off whatever they just put on. At least maybe nowadays, when I was a teenager, that wasn't something. I think maybe that was a progression over time. So that's the second. So yesterday was St. Patrick's Day, and I picked up Jack from school, and he made a really good point. You know, he made a really good point. He was like, what are we going to do for St. Patrick's Day? And I grew up in Indiana. My parents live in the Chicago area. There's multiple parades. There's like, usually like some food, some festival, but also I was out of town on the weekend. There's too many holidays. That's the thing. Like I work the weekend, you know, so I can be home. I'll be home for Christmas, you know, I'll be home for Easter. I'll be home for Halloween. That's cool. But the holidays don't have like a special thing attached. Like Jack was like, you're going to be gone for Valentine's. Yeah. What are we going to do? I'll give you a hug. I can get you a cookie any day, you know? St. Patrick's Day. Anyway, we didn't do a St. Patrick's Day. So he's like, we need to do. So then we went, and we live really, I don't know. We went to Universal Studio. It wasn't a bad decision. It was just like, we live pretty close. It's not, we got a pass when we went for the 4th of July. I guess that's where we just go for holidays now in his head. But kids just find a way to ask for anything. And they're so cute. Anyway, so we did that. And we were back by like 7. But then we got to do all the normal stuff you would do when you're home by 5 or 4 or whatever. And then it's just like, I was like, I gotta go to sleep now. That's my new rule. If I fall asleep while he's falling asleep, the podcast is I just got my kid to school. But I don't want to lose listeners over it. So I'm really going to try to commit to getting him to bed early on a Monday night. And that's the real reason you should focus on getting your kid to sleep early, is to get the podcast in. I don't know if people realize how important that is, you know? And I'm not totally not serious. There's a lot of not, I don't know if I hit double negative, quadruple negative there. I'm not completely unserious, because I remember as a kid, we were in bed super early all the time, every day, you know? And at first my mom always said it was because we needed our sleep. But now as an adult, she's opened up a little bit and been like, well, that's the parents' time. And I'm like, oh. So I think that there's a conflict of interest. And when I was a kid, kids didn't really have a say like I feel like they do now, specifically in my house. Like when I was a kid, we're like, oh, we got to go to bed because that's what's important. Little did we know, it's like, no, you got to go to bed because I need to be alone. Like, or I need to spend time with your father. Like, I need to do, you know? And I work on the weekends and I travel about half the week. So I do that stuff. I get time alone when I'm alone. So that's just judge away. That's why there's there's sleep schedule sometimes. But he woke up for school. I told him that if they do all like the school stuff in the first part of the day, and then I can pick them up whenever. And I was like, if we wake up in time to get to school early, we can, I can pick you up at half day when all the school stuff's done. And he's in kindergarten. And he got so excited. We got all ready. We got there. He's like, do we make it? I'm like, well, we made it in time for normal school. Like, he was so excited we made it in time for normal school. And I was like, no, we got to get there early. Is that interesting? Anyway, so it's a very controversial episode because it's another, I just got my kid to school episode, and I don't want to lose I just got my kid to sleep following. But I got to get sleep. That's the message. You know, if I do lose you, just know that the message is you got to take care of yourself. Even if you have a devoted, I just got my kid to sleep fan base, you just got to, I feel so much. Last week, I felt so alive for the first time in a long time. Like, that's a progression of like when they're babies, you don't feel alive, you know? And then it's a challenge to get sleep. If you have nannies and stuff, I'm sure it's easier. But then there's an age where they go to school and you have like you don't need to stay up at night anymore because you have all day. Like when they're babies, that's kind of the only time to do stuff if there's not a lot of independent play. But now he's at school for, I don't need to stay up anymore. I don't need to stay up. I feel like that's my Good Will Hunting moment, where Robin Williams is talking to Matt Damon and is like, it's not your fault. And Matt Damon starts crying. It's like, you don't need to stay up. You don't need to stay up. Anyway, so that's pretty controversial. The other controversial thing about this episode is rife with controversy. I don't know if I'm using the word controversy correctly now that there hasn't been that real much no one's really pushed back on this controversy during the episode. But also, there's some construction going on, and I haven't really heard it. So maybe you have. But earlier, when I got home from dropping Jackson at school, I realized like they're fixing my kitchen. Like, I'm so lucky, live in a good building. That's a great advice, because I've lived in buildings before where you put in a work report or whatever, you like submit something to the management to fix, and they're like, they're just like, they're not gonna do it. Like, I don't know if you ever watched The Office, but there's an episode where it comes out that Toby has like a file where he puts all the grievances that all the actors, no, they're actors in real life, the coworkers have put about each other, and he just puts them in a file and does nothing with them. So, because it just handles it better, because then it just blows over. And I feel like that's what my old place did. But this place, they sent someone out and they fixed it. Basically, my sink, underneath my sink, the thing was like collapsing. Like it was just kind of like a hole. And I felt like that would be an issue at some point. I don't know the physics of what it could be an issue of, but I know there was like a leak below me, and the thing was leaking, and so they're fixing it, and it's really loud, but it's getting fixed, and so that's what that noise is. But I haven't even really heard it, so, but it's good noise, and yeah. So I think we addressed all the controversies. We didn't worry about whether we thought about whether we could do it, not whether we should do it. And then, also, this might be too personal. I didn't shower yet today. That's so embarrassing. I just go to bed now. I just go to bed at night. I didn't shower last night either. And I just wake up and I'm like, podcast time, Can you tell? Can you see the dirt? It made me think of this this show that my mom, when I was a kid, I think when my mom was pregnant with my brother, I watched a lot more TV, and I didn't know that was a thing, but I think she was like tired or whatever. I remember one morning there's this movie about this guy that that went into the desert, and he just stayed there and got really dirty. And it wasn't like the Jesus story, it wasn't like that. It was just this guy, but there was like a religious tone to it. Like you shouldn't, like you gotta like take care of yourself. I don't know. I just remember this guy like living in the desert, and there was something religious about it. And the message was like, you have to like take care of yourself. But that doesn't make sense. You know how you see things as a kid. But anyways, the point is, I was like, oh, that's what it feels like to be a parent sometimes, just in a desert. I didn't have time to shower. But I don't know. I feel like some people don't even wash their hair. I've heard it's not even healthy to wash your hair every day. That's what I've heard from the anti-shampoo conditioner. Isn't it weird that we buy shampoo, right? We do that. Everybody does it. Maybe you stayed at a lot of hotels and you take them home with you, and you never have to buy shampoo. Except nowadays, a lot of hotels have it in a full container, and those are hard to get off the wall. So but when it was individuals, and if you travel there, I mean, you could probably never buy shampoo again. I mean, that was a real benefit when I first started comedy, is that the hotel. I remember one time, like now, I've done. There might be a time where they're done, and I have to be like, "Thank you so much." Just they're done working, because I don't want to be impolite, So if that's part of this episode, just know that it reflects on me as a person. Like, I'm not going to put the podcast ahead of being thankful in person. So just know, if you're like, no, I really want to hear where this story is going, and I'm like, hey, thanks for coming, I really appreciate it. It changed everything. That's because, I just value the relationship with humanity more than, I don't think this is going to lose as much. They've done a great thing for me in fixing my kitchen. But I still hear them, so I think we're okay. My foot's going numb. Anyway, so where was I? I don't remember. Oh yeah. When I first started comedy, you could just live off of that shampoo and conditioner, just little bottles. You didn't have to buy any at all. What's your budget for shampoo this month? Zero. Except one time I stayed in a hotel. Like when you first start traveling for stand-up, you're just so like, you just stay wherever they put you up. Now I do a little vetting, and I like to do what's called, if you're a new comedian out there, there's this thing called a hotel buyout. And if you feel like you're in pretty good graces with the booker and you're not a big fan of the hotel, you can ask for a hotel buyout, which is where they give you the money that they would spend on a hotel, and you just get it and get to go to your own hotel. And sometimes you see how little they actually pay for a hotel. Like, it amazes me how people, like, I get it if you're going on vacation, right? And you live in a house and you don't really go on vacation a lot. Like, nobody does. It's a vacation. But like, if you don't travel every week, you're just like, yeah, I'll spend $50, $80 or whatever, and get a hotel wherever and stay wherever. But I just feel like if you did that every week as your job, like that's just rolling the dice, you know? So I don't stay places unless I'm really comfortable. So I get hotel buyouts a lot. But one time I was working at a comedy club in Erie, Pennsylvania, who used to put people up at good hotels. That's the thing too. Like sometimes you'll travel to a comedy club city during a time when it's like really busy, so hotel rates are really expensive, and then they'll just be like, "Oh, this is the hotel we give you," and then they don't tell you that it's not the good one. They're just like, "Oh, this is where you're staying." I'm trying to remember what the name of this one was, and it wasn't a bad room, but there was no shampoo and conditioner. There was just none, and I think maybe there wasn't a front desk. I think I would have thought of that, but I remember having to go to the store to buy shampoo and conditioner in Erie, Pennsylvania. And I remember I was working with Moody McCarthy, very funny comedian, and he was headlining and I was featuring, and we got lunch, and I told him that I had to go to the gas station to get shampoo and conditioner, and he was like, "Oh, I could have just brought you some," and he held his hands out like he would just like squeeze them into his hand, and be like, "Here you go, buddy," like, and that visual was very entertaining to me, and it's just like kind of those are like the things of the job that you look back on and are like, oh yeah, it didn't really suck. But now I'm just like, I'm not staying at it was the Tally Ho Hotel. That's what they decided to call Tally Ho Hotel. Bring your own shampoo and conditioner. Anyway, so it's weird that people buy shampoo, right? They do it. People do it every day. They don't though. I buy shampoo. I wash my hair every day. I just don't know enough about hair to look at it and be like, I think I'll be good. Also, there's that construction. Yes. I got the free background noise. Every time it comes in, I'm going to be like, that's the live audience going like, tell us more. Tell us more about shampoo. So it's we might lose some viewers. No, I think it's weird that I feel like I should track it. I'm going to track it, everybody. Hold me to this. Next time I have to buy shampoo, I'm going to write down the date in a calendar. I got to buy a calendar first. Have you ever been to Paper Source? There's a store called Paper Source, and they have these national parks. I wonder if you can still get a calendar in person, because it's already March. It's March. It's madness. Was there a March Madness before NCAA basketball? Here's my question. Don't laugh. I mean, you can. It's good to laugh. Healthy. But like before NCAA basketball in the 1900s, early 1900s, before that tournament, would we get to March and be like, that was madness? It is madness. When is it? It's March already? That is madness. I thought it was still January. What madness it is, And then when the tournament came, they're like, we're just going to call this March Madness, which it's kind of mid-March Madness into April, if we're going to be honest. But I guess the first 2 weeks are where it's crazy. I don't know why they have conference tournaments in basketball, because it just seems like another way to make money when we're going to watch a real tournament in 2 weeks. Like, why are we making these kids play a game every day when they played a whole season to see who was the best? What's the point of the season if we're just doing this and the winner gets into the tournament? I mean, I know the season still matters a little, like a good amount, but it's just like, come on. And then they're never going to go away now. I remember when they started, Bob Knight was the coach of IU but I don't think at the point when they started, and he was just like, it's not fair to the parents of the kids that have to travel to these cities for free. Like, we're not going to pay the parents. We're not going to cover their stuff. Anyway, that was a little rambling. I know we got a little off topic, which, I really try to stay on. Yeah, I'll keep talking about that. So I think it's weird that shampoo, I buy it, right? I buy it, not a couple bucks. Head and Shoulders, is it in there? I got some from Whole Foods one time. Where did I get it? Oh, this is what I got one time. This is conditioner, which I think that's weird that, like, I'm not a woman, and I buy conditioner, which I feel like kind of just makes my hair less clean. It's almost like the shampoos company, like, shampoo company is like, hey, my bathtub is not super clean. My bathtub needs shampoo. It's just weird to have to clean a bathtub, you know? Like, why can't you just use the soap? I know, I spray it with this stuff. There's no ads. This is just stuff I use. And I can show you how well it works. Can you see how well it works? It's not perfect. But I feel like when I do it, this is daily shower spray. Maybe I don't use it right. I feel like when I use it, I'm not getting any money for this. When I use it, clearly with my pitch, a spray a day keeps the scrubbing away. So maybe I don't do it right. Spray daily to use. Spray daily, admire. That's what I'm not doing. I'm not admiring it. It says to admire. I'm not making that up. Spray daily, admire. That's it. Suitable for most non-porous surfaces. So you can't use it on your skin because we're a porous people. Yeah, that's the problem. I just spray it and I don't admire. And I know it's like, oh, that's a joke, but they say if you talk to your plants, it's not that dirt. I just feel like when I spray it, I don't need to admire because it's already going to be clean. I don't need to clean it either. But I'm going to clean it during one of the 6 hours while my son's at school. Anyway, it's weird when you grow up and realize like all the cleaning your mom or dad or both had to do that you just didn't know about. Like I cleaned my refrigerator recently, and I never, ever, ever cleaned a refrigerator as a child, but I never saw the stuff in the fridge that I saw in my fridge. So I was like, somebody was doing this. There it is. Thank you. So anyway, I think it's weird. I buy Head and Shoulders. I read it in a magazine one time. I think it's weird that I buy shampoo. Like I'm going to keep track, right? I'm going to keep track of it. Once a month? No, not even once. Probably like, I don't know how often I buy it, but I don't buy it very often. And it's like $2, right? How do they stay in business? That's how many people there are in this world. I can buy shampoo, conditioner once 4 months for $3, and there's a whole factory, maybe a lot of factories. Whole people have jobs. Robots have salaries because enough people out there wash their hair every day and go through a whole bottle enough times to like if I'm buying it every 3 months, that means that someone's buying it tomorrow and the next day, like hundreds, maybe thousands of people are buying shampoo tomorrow. Thousands of people ran out of shampoo today. Isn't that crazy? And they're not going to need it for 3 months, and that company's in business still. I think that's why we have conditioner, because our hair is too clean. I think I started talking about that already. Anyway, I'm going to keep track of how long it takes. That'll be a good focus. I'll just do that for everything. Like, how long does this last? Ooh, wow. This could be a whole movement, you know? I could do everything. How long does contact solution last? That seems to go. Because I wear contacts. Can you see? I think you can. I don't know if you can. Contacts are the best invention ever. People are like, oh, I don't want to put something in my eye. Well, you just do that twice a day. You don't have to touch your eye all the time. It's just once, and it doesn't even feel bad, right? It's your eye. One time I was in a relationship with someone and they were getting contacts and they felt really weird touching their eye. And they're like, you have to do it. I'm like, I don't think we're that close. I mean, to reach into your eye. Here's the thing about touching someone else's eye. I can't feel when it's not a good touch, you know? When you're touching your own eye, you can be like, oh, that's the contact. Anyway, contacts, I can see how long that lasts. I can see how long I use Listerine. I don't know if I should. I asked my dentist one time and he was fine either way. See, not an ad. It's not a pro one. How long that lasts? Whew. Toothpaste. How long does it last? Like how little money could I spend on stuff if I didn't buy stuff other than the stuff I needed? Ooh. Anyway. So, yeah. You guys are good? Sleepers? I'm just waiting. I was going to wait until the construction was done, but I was like, I felt this kind of anxious joy about like, well, what if it's cool? What if it's cool to have a drill going, and it's just like I'm persisting even in a non-ideal environment, you know? And then I felt this guilt of like, am I taking advantage of this situation? You know, like, who am I to use another person's labor as background noise for a podcast? Also, it might be distracting. But then I thought, I don't think I really thought that until just now. I think I just felt like, oh, I don't want to rush it. I don't want it to be. But then I was like, they might be working on it all day. So if I don't do it, I'd have to do it in like a different location. And how many locations are there really in the world I could do it, you know? I mean, my car, the park. I would need an outlet though, unless I just did phone audio again. Don't you love hearing me think this out as it goes? But then I realized it might be all day. And then I was like, this is my responsibility. So that's what we did. It's going well. I don't think this is why the drain's broken, and I probably shouldn't share it publicly in case it is, but my son takes change, and he has a toy cash register that he puts the change in, and like the real change. If you're ever breaking into my house looking for some change, go to the toy cash register, full of change and some ones. That was my like secret that I just gave out. Like if I ever had like a ton of cash in my house, I think I would just put it in the toy cash register that he doesn't play with all the time. And I think that'd be really funny for like, maybe like in a movie, I don't know, but like in real life, even if someone like broke in and was like, I gotta find cash. And then they knew there was some in somehow because I'd just done the drop, you know, as the movie. And they couldn't find it. And then it was just in the toy cash register that was in like the opening scene that my son and I were playing with. And it's just like millions of dollars. Like he charges me so much to buy stuffed animals that I've already purchased for him when we play with that cash register. He's like, this is $10,000. I'm just like, I already bought it. I know how much this cost. This was $30 and it was overpriced then. Anyway, don't you love like the carnival things with the games, you know, where you pay the cost of the stuffed animal with the risk of not even winning the stuffed animal? That's always fun. We were at one time, and it was the one where you squirt the water in the thing, and the horses race. And they're not even like super quality stuffed animals all the time because you're just playing to win. You're not purchasing it, you know? And they're like, all right, well, 2 people get this side. So we were both playing, and I thought some people might join in, and I could be like a hustler, you know? But it was just me and Jack. And so I let him win because I already bought him stuff. But if like other people had played, we might pay and not get anything. I guess that's how games work. But yeah, so he has a lot of change. And recently what he started doing was taking the change from the cash register and just putting it in different places. And there was this cup that had some change in it that I didn't know. And no, that's not what it was. Oh, here's the story. So I had a backpack, right? This is going to make so much sense once I get into the real details of it. So I had a backpack. It was a really nice backpack. OGO. Lots of references. But the zipper broke. Not a sponsor. And it only lasted for like a year. It was such a cool backpack. I got it for Christmas. My parents gave it to me for Christmas. It was like, this is the gift. But the zipper broke. When the zipper's gone, like, what are you going to do? When I was a kid, you had like a lifetime warranty on a backpack. But it's just like, where do I take this? You know, I'm a child. You want me to mail this backpack through the mail? Anyway, I guess that's what you would do. Oh, by the way, I just ordered something and I put in my credit card address versus my address, and I tried to contact the company, and they just sent it anyway. So what are my legal rights here? But anyway, back to the change. So I had this backpack, and it was just sitting in my room because, you know, I had a lot of emotional connection. I went to Europe with that backpack. I did, just for a couple of days. I had a show. It's not like I was just like, bye, son. I had the backpack. I was just thinking, oh, bison sounds like bison. And, but I was like, I'm not going to share that. And then I did. So I wanted to go through the backpack before I threw it out, right? And so it just sat on my floor. And then last week when I had all that time during the day, I was like, nap time just started for Jack. So not doing a half day. Cause they, anyway, I wanted to go through it first. And when all that time I was like, all right, let's just go through it. And I didn't see anything, but then I was like, I'm going to throw it away. I think it was that backpack. Maybe it was a suitcase. Here's what it was. I think it was a suitcase. Because why wouldn't I? Maybe it was the backpack. I was just throwing the backpack away, though. But anyway, I took a suitcase or a backpack or Jack's change collecting thing that I didn't see change in. And I poured it over the sink because there was like dirt in the suitcase. And I wanted to get the dirt out. And then change just fell down the sink. And I was like, oh, I'm literally throwing money down the drain. And then my sink started leaking. So maybe that had something to do with it. Probably not though. Anyways, what else? I talked about there's a lot of holidays as a parent. I gotta come up with some traditions. I heard that on Instagram reel, just in life as a dad, you gotta have traditions. And right now, our main tradition is just sort of doing whatever Jack says, but not all the time. I've made it clear that it's not. That's just something we kind of. I'm standing up for myself more. But last night we were reading a book before bed, and I was like, before we went to bed, he wanted to watch a little bit of TV, and I was like, that's it then bath, then bed. But then and he was like, oh, we want to read, and it's like, what am I supposed to do? Not read? So, we're reading this book, and it's about unicorn princesses. He found one. The first book, I think, at the library. There was one day, I don't know if you've been to the library with like a 5-year-old in 2024. Anytime, really. Maybe he was pretty young, and I told him that we could take books home with us. He just got like 30 books, and I don't want to discourage reading. That's not what I'm here for. So I was like, all right. So I found out what the limit was, and we got all the books. And we checked them out and brought them home. And one of them was in Spanish. And I was like, I don't speak that. But I don't want to I heard it's easier to learn back then when you're little. Back then, just when kids are little. And so one of the books was this book. It was book 1 of Unicorn Princesses. And, kids can like unicorns and princesses too. Like, if you like Disney, it's all princesses, really. What are you going to like if it's not? Anyway. So he really liked that book, and there's this character called Ernest the Wizard Lizard, and he's kind of the only male in the show, and he's also like the most incompetent. Like, he always does a spell where the words rhyme, but they're not appropriate for what he's trying to do. So like, I don't remember any specifics because that would be kind of strange. I usually am like almost asleep while I'm reading them. Not that they're not good books, but before I did this new style of going to bed right after he went to sleep, I would be just tired all the time. So I would almost be asleep as I'm reading it. But he would say like, I don't know, hocus pocus. He doesn't use hocus pocus. It's more original than that. There's a very, very smart lady that wrote him, Emily Bliss. But like, instead of saying like he wanted to like make a bunch of bicycles for presents, he would say icicles, and then the whole realm would freeze over. But that's not a super great example. It's a pretty good example because icicles freezing things does kind of mess stuff up in the way it does in the story. But bicycles, I don't think unicorns can ride bicycles. That would not work out. But other than that, that's a good example if you're looking for one. But anyway, we're on book 9 now out of 10. Jack doesn't know that they stop at 10. I think he kind of realizes now, but at book like 5, he's like, oh, we can read 100 of these. He just thinks that because there's a number and numbers go on, that there's just going to be more. And if you know anything about my parenting style, I'm not one to like shoot down hope, Like, we'll get to that sadness bridge when we get there, or we'll cross it when we get there. No, this is the last one. I guess. Let me Google it. It is the last one. When I've known it's the last one, I've known it for a long time. I've held that. I've walked around with that in my heart, knowing, oh, we're reading this book. Like maybe instead of thinking if we could read this book, we should have thought about whether we should read this book, because they're going to run out, and then you're done with new stories, and then you're alive forever. I don't know. My camera was focused just on that corner because there was a thing on my camera. I wasn't going to talk about my camera that much today, but we did. Now there's just a yellow thing on my face, and I don't know. Anyway, so that's where we're at with that. And we're in book like 7 or 8 now. And recently, Jack, just last night. So we're going to come to terms with the fact that there's no more books, right? And I don't know how we've established other books that are out there. We read other series sometimes in the midst of this one, which is like a Dragon Girls book a lot, or whatever. There's just like a lot of dragons in it, and sometimes we'll read like a chapter of each, and I'm like, we need to do one at a time because I'm trying to follow along for my entertainment. Anyway, so Ernest is a bad wizard. That's the whole point. And Jack and I were talking about the story because kids are very aware of like plot points, and like when stories don't add up, he know. Like maybe it's not all kids, but Jack will read a book and he'll be like, "Why did this happen? This happened." I'm like, in my head, I'm like, "Well, because the writer is lazy." But that's a judgment. Maybe they're just like, "This is the best answer they had. They didn't really think it through, whatever." Because he's got good points, you know. And he was like, hey, Ernest the Wizard Lizard just keeps messing up. We're in book 9. He's messed up every time, which kicks off the story, you know. And when Jack wants to know why he's bad at his job, you can't be like, well, that's why the stories exist. It's because he messes something up. So he's like, he doesn't even ask that. He's just like, because he's like, he's a wizard, right? He's a wizard lizard. And he's like, don't you have to be good at something to do it as a job? And then he's like, except for being a mom and a dad. And I know he's being like, you know, he kind of understands that you just become parents. I don't know. He doesn't know how or whatever, but he's just like, oh, that just happens. But it was just really funny. Like, it's like, you know, it's like 10 o'clock and we went to Universal Studios on St. Patrick's Day, and everything else is pretty good. But like, he doesn't have to wake up for school till 8. So it's not super, and take a nap at school. But this is all defensive. But he was just like, he's like, you don't have to be. I don't think he's being like, you're a bad dad. But he's like, yeah, if you're mom and dad, that's just your job too. But other jobs you got to be good at. So, and I would just laugh because I was like, yeah, thanks for giving me the benefit of, or thanks for giving me the doubt, you know, that I don't have to be good. I am a good dad though. I know that because I go the extra mile. Like, I feel like a lot of stuff about being a parent is like, we were worried about whether we could. My son was worried about whether we could, and I should have been thinking about whether we should. Like, have you ever bought bath toys for a child? Well, there's these toys that like squirt water. And I don't know what I imagined, but there's an age when kids hate baths and they scream. And I just thought that if I bought little like kind of rubber race cars, they could like race them around the tub, or I could take one, I could squirt them in the face, not an eye, but like in a funny way, you know? And so I got the race cars first. That didn't work. And then he saw animals one time. We got those. And then he saw like water animals, which is weird because I got the race cars first because like he's a kid, you know, he'll love, you know. And then he saw animals, and I was like, yeah, we got room for that, you know. We got animals, that's fine. Throw some animals in there, you know. I don't know if you know a picture, they're like hand size, they squeeze, you get it. But then he saw the water animals. I'm like, well, those are the only ones that make sense, you know? We're all about authenticity, right? It makes sense. We could stay away from that jellyfish, you know? So now there's just like bath toys in the bathtub. Like that's what the bath is covered for. Like he doesn't even have to spray this because If he did, he'd definitely admire. But like it's like, and I gotta like push him out of the way, and like he was so wrapped up wondering whether we could get these bath toys that I never thought about whether we should, and then one thing I realized is that because I know science a little bit, just a tiny bit, is that you gotta get rid of the water, because when you put water in a dark enclosed space, that turns things grow, and those things, can create allergic reactions or awful smells, death, maybe. So every night before I go to bed, I didn't do it last night. I gotta do it today. I gotta squeeze those things. And I usually get a little bit of water on me, and I'm like usually super tired. I'm just like, that's why I'm a good dad. I could just throw them all out. Maybe that's better in the long run. Just throw them all out. I like being a dad because when I'm on the road, I get to think of another person. Like I was in Escondido this past weekend. This weekend I'm in Lexington, Kentucky. A lot of tickets available for Friday because Kentucky plays during my show in a different place, but still. March Madness, that's my madness. It's like there's a game while I'm working. But Lexington, Kentucky, 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, comedy off Broadway. It's by a pond, and yeah, very fun. And then in April, I'll be in Boonton, New Jersey, and Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and there's another place, Stamford, Connecticut, which I don't think is the Stamford that Jim went to. I think it was the Stamford, New York office, from the office. And then also in April, oh no, it went down. I'll be in other place, Brea, California, April 25th. I got to put that on the website. At the Improv. It's my debut improv weekend show. So that's great. Things have been going great. If you see an ad in your area for a show, I appreciate you seeing the ad. But if you're not interested in coming, like it usually says what days are below, don't click on the ad because they charge. Well, actually, I don't think it matters. Just click on it if you want to. But anyway, I was in Escondido, California, and last time I was there is a Carter's Kids. And I'm just like, he's going to be too big for this stuff. But it's not. They have older kids stuff too. And anyway, I'm not going to say it's not a sponsor after every product. Just know that I go to Carter's. And I'd been there before, and that's what made me think of like, I can go there again. There's a GameStop, so I went to go see if they have any like cool Wii games. I got a Nintendo game, original Nintendo game of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers that didn't work the first time I used it. But I think sometimes, so my younger brother got me like an old Nintendo for my birthday last year. And sometimes I think the games don't work just because like the world's like, you should go to bed. And then they work the next time. So that's a whole thing. And I was playing Castlevania. I got to figure out how to beat Frankenstein without the holy water because I don't make it there with holy water. 6 people know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I went there first, and then I got food, and then I went to Carter's before food, I think. No, after food. I know it's important in the story. And they had, everything was like discount. There was like these pajamas that would fit Jack perfectly, and they were so cheap, and they had penguins on them. And that's why they were so cheap, because I guess like they think kids are gonna like look at those pajamas and be like, Mom, it's not winter time, so I don't want to wear these. Penguins are a winter animal, because they weren't even like thick or warm. They were just like normal long sleeve pajamas. And it's also March, it's kind of chilly still. And so I bought them for like $4. It's probably like cheaper than, I don't know what Goodwill's like, but it was like really cheap. And they had penguins on them. And I bought them for him. But then I found these like video game pajamas, and I bought him those too because he loves video games, and he was really excited to wear them. Because Sunday night, that was a big thing. Sunday night I got to perform at the Comedy Magic Club at Hermosa Beach where they are a sponsor. Actually, they give me thousands of dollars every show to do it. No, they pay me to do stand up. And Jay Leno performs every Sunday there, and I got to host. And I was on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno in the 2010 year, and he came in, and I haven't really met him since. And I was like, he introduced himself, which is always weird talking to a famous person, because the most normal thing is to say, "Hi, I'm Jay." You know, he's the most normal guy in the world. But it's also like, yeah, I know. And I was like, oh, I did your show, and I don't expect you to remember it, but it was really fun. And like, you took a picture with my parents. He's like, oh, your parents came? I'm not going to do a Jay voice. I don't have it. But he was like the nicest, coolest, most normal person. And it's almost weird to think that, like, when I was a kid, he was like, had the Tonight Show. Like, he was like one of the most successful comedians of all time. I mean, still is, but like, he just does a show there every Sunday. He does shows every week. And then it was weird because in the green room, not because of me, but the conversation kind of shifted to like the whole, another comedian brought up the whole thing when everything was transitioning to NBC. And it was so weird. Like, I would never bring that up. It seems like the most obvious thing to have questions about, but they were friends. He was friends with the guy I was talking about. So to him about when, Conan, and then him, which I was always like, I was very appreciative to be on Jay's show, and, but I also got to be on Conan's show. So both are great. Anyway, that was very fun, but, so I had a babysitter, and I had put out these, and my babysitter calls my son Peter sometimes because she forgets his name as a joke, which is very funny. Maybe she doesn't want me to share that, but it's a very funny thing. Kids love funny stuff. Anyway, I put out those pajamas for him to wear. And so she was like, he loves those, so I washed them. And then, he was like, I want to wear the video game ones again. And I was like, oh, those are dirty, because I forgot I'd washed them. That's how that story ends. Not much there, but we're near the end. So that's the good thing about podcasts, is that if you're near the end, thank you. But if you don't like how it ends, it's on me still a little bit. But yeah, I just got my kid to sleep yesterday night, and I'll do it again tonight. Today's a big day. We got Tumbling, okay? The new Looney Tunes movie is out. Watch the Looney Tunes movie. Save the Looney Tunes. They've just been scrubbed off of Max. Jack really likes Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, and those are pretty appropriate for kids. There's some from that era that I just would like. They're like, oh, we should probably. I don't know. I would just be like, we should probably not. But Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner and Sylvester. I mean, he just wants to watch things get eaten by other things. I don't know. All right. I think I got everything that I'll talk about this time. But yeah, Lexington, Kentucky, if you live in that area or know anybody this weekend. And then, yeah, I'll be in Charlotte with Kathleen Madigan the next weekend, in Virginia Beach with her too. So if you go to those shows, I'll be like a secret surprise. Yeah, non-advertised surprise that you might know about. Like, other people might be like, oh, I can't wait for Kathleen to come out. And then you can be like, no, there's going to be someone first. There's always somebody first. One time I opened up for Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I just went on stage because no one introduced me. They're just like, all right, go. And I had to be like, let's give it up for Earth, Wind, Fire. And everyone was like, yeah. And then I was like, they'll be out in a little bit. And then people were like audibly silent and not as happy. And I was like, all right, thanks too. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. I love you. Thank you for being here. Good. The end.